Repossessions are up, jobs are down, and the credit markets are flat as a pancake. But if you think things in the West are bad, try stepping into the developing world, which is really starting to feel the effects of the recession. Places like Africa have become the forgotten victims of the economic downturn. The World Bank has warned that 53 million more people could be trapped in poverty, earning less than $2 a day. It predicts a rise in the infant mortality rate, with 200,000 to 400,000 more babies dying each year. And it says private sector capital flows from the developed to the developing world are expected to drop to half the level they were in 2007. That's a reduction of $500 billion.
If you look, for example, in Southeast Asia, a lot of people are working in factories producing clothes for export. Those exports are in decline. You've had massive hits on manufacturing exports in that region. I've just come back from Zambia. Zambia is very dependent on copper exports. Copper prices are a third of what they were a year ago, and people are being laid off en masse in South Africa and in Zambia. So big commodity exporters, big garment exporters, they're all taking hits from different places.
Take, for example, the Democratic Republic of Congo, home of Primus beer and a burgeoning minerals industry. But almost 250,000 jobs have been lost here because of a collapse in mineral prices caused by the global recession. The mines are based in one province, upon which half of Congo's national income is dependent. At a G7 meeting in Italy earlier this month, the wealthiest nations were asked to set up a vulnerability fund to set aside 0.7% of their economic stimulus packages for the developing world. The trouble is, none of them have met that target so far, and only Britain has committed itself to it. But while credit has dried up pretty much everywhere else, one sector appears to be booming: microfinance. The extension of small, low-interest loans to the world's poorest people, like these carpenters in Bangladesh. Microfinance is an industry worth in excess of $25 billion, according to one estimate, and it's been growing since the 1970s.
We're actually seeing that the need for microcredit services in developing countries is as great as ever. There are 2.7 billion people who live on less than $2 a day. They don't have access to mainstream financial services. So what we're doing is we're investing in the organizations in developing countries that are reaching out to those people. We've just raised 25 million euros in the last couple of weeks alone for a new fund that we're launching to invest in these organizations.
In fact, the microfinance model is now spreading from the developing world to us.
More and more people are starting to ask questions about who has my money, what are they doing with it, what is the bank doing with it? And so I think the impact that we're going to see is more and more organizations going back to basics and engaging in relationship banking, ensuring that they were lending to real people for real needs. And that is what sustainable banking is all about.
Think of it as old-fashioned back-to-basics banking, as appealing to the financially shell-shocked developed world as to the poverty-stricken developing world.